My name is Jack, and I'm a passionate angler and all-round fish fanatic. In this series of films, I'm trying to track down and catch 100 different species of fish in the British Isles as I fly, see and course fish for a range of weird species. This week I'm on the hunt for some mini species, with my main target being the ring-neck Blenny. I first tried for them in Brixham, but they didn't turn up. I did however get my first rock hook, which is a kind of small wrasse, and a poor cod, so it wasn't a waste of time at all, with Rich Salter helping me out on this. I also ended up visiting the Ocean Lab Aquarium in Pembrokeshire, which had a fantastic leopard spot goby on display, which I was able to get a few nice photos of. It's still a species I'd very much like to catch. I eventually ended up in Falmouth, which is an amazing place, and I used to live here a few years ago. I didn't fish it that much when I was down there, but it does hold some amazing species, and my main goal was to tick off a few of the Blenny species. There's so many areas to fish, and it's hard to pick, but my first thought was to try some of the structure along the harbour walls. My tactics for the day were pretty simple, using a small hook and a piece of prawn. I got a black goby pretty quickly, which only the male is black and only when spawning, so colour is a pretty poor way to ID these gobies, but the males have a large dorsal fin and they're the only goby that have that. I also got a good bend in the rod, which is when a mullet took my prawn. Mullet are one of my favourite fish to catch, but I rarely ever fish for them. This wasn't a monster, but I was chuffed with it, and I will be making a film on mullet fishing at some point. Later that day, I was joined by Josh Pickett and Ruben Judge, who caught this absolute unit of a leopard spotted goby as I was walking by. Bites were pretty thick and fast, with species like goldsinny turning up pretty quickly and cork wings. The first Blenny species to turn up was the shanny, or common Blenny. They are aggressive biters and great fun. They can be a bit aggro, and they will bite you if they get half the chance. One of the amazing things about these fish is they can stay out of water for hours, absorbing oxygen through their skin. Seeing as I was in Cornwall, I had to grab a pasty, and since living there, I can only eat them when I'm in the county, so I tend to eat my body weight when I'm down there. We did have a holiday maker turn up next to us with some heavy tackle, who I told you wouldn't catch anything, and then he promptly caught a garfish, so I shut up after that. The second Blenny of the trip to turn up was a tompot Blenny. When tracking ringnecks, it's always worth double checking any tompots, as they do look similar, but I'd say the tompot is overall a much bulkier Blenny and has more reds and purples on it, and of course it lacks the ring on the neck. LRF anglers love a tompot, and I'm inclined to agree, as it was nice picking up a couple of them. We headed through the high street and over to Prince of Wales Pier to give that a go, which I always think should be heaving with fish, but I never seem to do very well there. I did get a rock goby and a couple of wrasse, but it was all really quite quiet. The day was getting on and the ringneck still hadn't made an appearance. I had one last go down the edge of the harbour wall and I felt a short, hard pull, and to my joy, it was a ringneck Blenny.
Here is a ringneck Blenny. We got one in Falmouth. It's a little bit noisy around me. There's boats, people, singing, dogs, you name it. But we got one. I'm chuffed to death. It's not the biggest fish I've ever caught, but it's probably one of the most challenging and fantastic looking fish. So I'm chuffed.
They're a relatively recent arrival, and they weren't present in Cornwall in any numbers when I lived down here about 10 years ago. It's likely warming seas have helped them colonise the southwest of England. Another name for them is the variable Blenny, as they come in lots of different colours, but generally they have a good band under the chin, which is an easy way to ID them. 3 Blennies was pretty good, but there was one more I wanted to get.
So I've changed tactics. I'm now on the north coast of Cornwall and I'm going for my final Blenny species, and that is the Montagu's Blenny. I've never really properly seen one. I've actually found them by accident when I used to live down here, but I didn't really know what they were. Catching them, a little bit tricky. They are tiny. They do get to the size of a shanny, but that's rare. So most Montagues are really small. I have got the rod and I'm enthusiastic to use it. However, short of dynamite, I'll do anything to get one today, and I'll probably end up just scooping one up. I'm on these mussel beds on exposed rocks. I'm going to have a good look around. I'm reliably told that they like mussel beds, so let's have a look, and fingers crossed we can get one. It would be the final cherry in the cake if we can get a Montagu's. I'm going to at least show willing and try and catch one on rod and line. I mean, they're impressive if you do get a big one. As I say, I mean, a big one would be like 4 or 5 inches. Stop it. And I'm going to take the rod apart. I was told this tip, which is quite good for rock pool fishing. So if you take just the end tip off, you've just got a bit more manoeuvrability. And I'm going to bop that down. Straight away, getting nailed by shannies. And this is one of the problems with rock pool fishing, is that the shannies are pretty dominant. And I think this is going to be the problem today, that for every 1 Montagu's, there might be 20 shannies. So it's a war of attrition. I think I've just got to, nearly. I've just got to get through the shannies and hopefully, oh, what was that? Oh, that was interesting. Something a bit darker went by. Come on.
I did catch quite a few shannies, as you'd expect here, and a 5-beard rockling, but the Monties weren't having it. I did try the rod, but the only ones I saw were tiny, so I gave in to the net. The main reason I wanted one was for a photo for my book, so it didn't really matter how I caught it. I found a small pool and spotted a Montagu's, and sweeping the net, I finally got one.
But I'm absolutely chuffed to get. Don't drop it. I don't know, you can just about see that. I'll do some close-ups, but it's a Montagu's Blenny. I am so chuffed with that. That is a gorgeous fish. Looks tropical. I'll be honest with you, I couldn't sleep last night. I was so excited to don't drop it. To potentially see one of these. So I am chuffed to death with that. 4 Blenny species in a couple of days. Get on.
Montagu's Blennies are an upper tidal species, mostly restricted to Cornwall, though they have been found as far as Dorset. They're often found around barnacles, as they're one of its main food sources, and typically, in smaller rock pools, we might not even think they're a fish. The key feature and easiest way to tell them from other Blennies is the single branch on the head, while most other Blenny species have 2. I was so chuffed to see one, but I am going to try and catch one on rod and line in an upcoming video, so although I've counted this one for netting, I will be fishing for them in a future video. I'm always a fan of catching the small fish, so really enjoyed this trip and bumping up my species tally, which is now on black goby, rock cook, poor cod, ringneck blenny, tompot blenny, shanny, Montagu's Blenny, and we did see a couple of leopard spot goby. New episodes of the Species Hunt are out each Sunday at 5 PM, and next week I'm going to Gloucestershire to try and see some Thwaite shad. I've got a selection of merch out at the moment, from A3 posters to playing cards and an ID book for sale via my website, with a link in the description. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this vid, why not check out this other video right here? If you can, please subscribe to the channel, only takes a couple of seconds and it really helps me out. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.